Hey everyone, and welcome to a playthrough for Star Renegades. This is just going to be a trial episode, so if you like what you see, then let me know and I'll make some more of it. I'm going to be starting off a brand new game, but skipping the tutorial, as that's not too essential to just the gameplay of it. It basically just covers some of the mechanics of the game, as you'd expect from a tutorial, so I'm just going to skip that and get on to the good stuff. And you get most of the idea of the story from this cutscene anyway. Aliens come, do big explosion, things aren't very good. Very dramatic. Okay, so this is just an outline of how the gameplay sort of works. You have to fight through a few planets, which you can see them here. Each one of them has a few lieutenants on them and big bosses. And if you get wiped on one playthrough, then any lieutenants that are left will get promoted or get some sort of buff the next time you play through. But hopefully we're not going to get wiped this first time around. You can see things like their buffs and weaknesses and whatnot, but don't need to worry about that too much here. We're just going to continue on with the gameplay, which starts us here with our first 3 players. There's quite a bit of chat at the start of the game, so we are just going to skip through that because, again, not particularly important for the gameplay. This is our first buddy. He is, general scoundrel. Knock off Han Solo. And our sort of do-good religious Archon guy. So we'll get into what their actual roles are when we start going into fights. And I'm not going to think too much about it, but you can see you can go left or right from here. And each route will take you through onto different paths, which will have different enemies or bits of loot that you can pick up along the way. All ending with our boss right at the end here. So one of the earlier things to try and focus on is getting things like buffs that can give you a permanent bit of health or armor or shields. But honestly, let's just wing it. It's too boring to sit around and figure out the best path at this stage, especially when it's not going to make much of a difference later on. So all the combat revolves around this time bar at the top, where everyone has a move each turn, which takes a certain amount of time to use. And if you hit someone before they've used their move, then you can push theirs back a bit, and you could see the Saboteur then used a move that delayed one of our enemies off of this turn, so he doesn't actually get to use a move. So that's one of the core mechanics, is just managing who you want to delay and who you want to allow to hit. And here we will just delay this robot again, or properly this time, so they won't get a turn. The other guy, however, we can't delay him, because we did that on the last turn. So instead we have to tank his shot, but you can see he's just going to be attacking our tank, our front row character here, Win, and shields regenerate at the end of combat, so we don't need to worry about losing a bit of shield there, so we can just whack him a lot, see how much damage we can do. Not quite going to kill him this turn, but that's fine. We'll kill him next turn. So, haven't really explained what goes on in this game. It's a roguelike sort of RPG game where you, at the start of each playthrough, you can select your characters other than the first playthrough, because that's sort of the default to get you into the game. And as you go through, you get bits of loot and level them up, unlock new abilities, etc. And it's all just accompanied with a pretty cool art style. So there's a lot of replayability. As you go through and you finish a run through, it puts you straight into the next one. So you can always just keep going, and there's a lot of different characters to unlock along the way, and that gives you plenty of reason to play some more if you do enjoy the gameplay. Here we just picked up some DNA, which is the experience on this game. So we've got 8 that you can see in the top left, and it costs 6 to level up our Valkyrie or Saboteur, and 5 to level up our Archon. Doesn't matter too much which one we upgrade, because we want to try and keep them all level to begin with, but we will just go for our tank because she's going to be taking the most hits. Probably handy to have her having a bit more health. And we're just going to cruise on through to the next fight. There's various different enemies in this with different mechanics, so there's going to be a lot to pick up along the way, but we're just going to wing it and hopefully survive. So you can inspect what the enemy, who the enemy are attacking, and they're both, well, they've split their attacks, so we'll try and see who's doing the most damage. So that's the big boy, but I think we could probably break him without the Saboteur, so we'll use the break on the one that has a longer bit of time to delay. So different moves have a different amount of delay. You can see that in the when hovering over the move here, like slash will delay by 20 seconds, cleave only by 10, so we want to delay as much as possible on that guy. And the little number next to the icon on the time bar is how many times they can be delayed. So there was a 2 there, he got hit and it's down to 1, and now it's down to 0, but we've broken him, so that doesn't matter. But this time we will have to tank some shots, but as you can see, neither of the ones getting attacked will lose their shields, so that's all fine. Let's just see what we can do. I don't know if we'll be able to finish anyone this turn. Just gonna defend here to save myself a little, as the one attacking the tank's moving quite early, and if they move before you do, then just like the other way around, they get a bit of extra damage. And that's something we want to avoid, because we don't want to lose any health, because that isn't as easy to regen as shields. But we should be able to easily finish things this time around. You can also skip through things by holding down B, so everything moves a little bit quicker, which after you're used to the game is a godsend, because they do take a long time to do anything in this. So here we have a little shield station, which will give one of our characters a permanent buff to shields. First we're going to just give a little level up to someone. Let's go with our Archon. Got the least health of the lot, so again would be helpful to have a bit more there. And you can see the Saboteur has the least shields, so it will probably be handy to give him a little bit of extra shield, because that way he can take shots a little bit more convincingly. and we're already at our final boss of this little area. So now we probably, yeah, he's attacking our saboteur, so we're going to want to delay him and then just try and do as much damage to the other guy as possible. May not need to use blitz though, but as you can see there, if I attack him with a normal attack, it will enrage him, which I believe means he does some extra damage amongst other things, so it's best to try and avoid that happening. So the only way to delay him this turn without that happening is with the blitz attack. That is just probably the most useful thing out of these three characters. Certainly at this point. So now we just want to try and do as much damage as possible to the other guy. Unfortunately we won't be able to use cleave, which does a bit more damage, because that just takes a really long time. So you can see there in the top right of the little bit of information to the right of cleave, there's like a clock and it's 3/4 full, so that would place that move just after the enemies. So instead we're going to go for the quicker move here. Not quite break them, but that's not an issue. They're going to be pretty much dead, which will make life much easier when we only have to deal with the boss. Okay, so we've got our second round, and we can delay that guy, but not the other one, so I'm just going to defend with our saboteur, because he is going to take the big hit off of the boss that we can't stop, so it makes sense to do what we can. And bestow shields here also heals up shields, so we're going to put that on the saboteur. Actually no, we're not, that would be stupid, because that moves before the enemy even attacks, so we'd be restoring shields before they're taken off. There's not much point in doing any additional damage, because this move only does a very little amount of damage, so we'll just heal up our Valkyrie's shields. And then there was one. Just speed through this so you can see when you defend you take a bit less damage to your shields, well, to everything. So that guy is now perfectly fine. And again, we don't want to use normal hits, so we're going to use a blitz to break him. And then we can use cleave to do a bit more damage. And we might as well heal up, because again, the Archon's attack doesn't do a lot of damage. Really does have a very nice art style, this game. Okay, so he is attacking our tank. Don't really need to worry then, but I will defend. There's no point in enraging him. I'll just use things that don't enrage and do a little bit of chip damage. So blitz isn't going to do anything here to delay him, but that's his only other move. So just using that one. Okay, we should be able to finish everything off here, because we can break him with blitz again and use cleave, and that should finish the job. And there you have it, kill shot. So it doesn't matter what we do with our Archon. So there you can see we get a bit of DNA, but we also get a bit of intel, which is a type of currency you can use at the end of playthroughs to unlock various things, like new characters and bits of equipment. And we've also received a card there to use whilst we're camping, which can improve the relationship between two different characters. And improving relationships will give you little buffs along the way as well, and can unlock some new characters, so that's pretty handy to do, and we'll get into that after this loot. all this loot's pretty low level, so it's not super important what one we pick, but you can see along the bottom who each bit of equipment can be equipped by. So it might be handy to have a little bit of burning applied to, actually let's see. So both irradiated and burning are blocked by shields, but irradiated means they have less defense versus health damage, so they'll just take 10% more damage. But it's also blocked by by armor. But burning just does 12 extra damage, so that's probably a pretty handy one to have at this stage. 4 armor could be useful, but I feel like we'll get some better stuff than that, so we're just going to go with those gauntlets. Now we've cleared that, we get a bit of chat, and we can level up our final character to level 2. And you can see everything that gets unlocked along the way. If you, well, on console or on controller, hold down the right trigger. You can see what moves get unlocked at what level. So the left hand side has the moves you get, and the right hand side has different cards that can be used each time you go camping, which we're about to do now. This is just sort of a mini game. Again, it gets explained there, so not going to worry too much. But this dynamic duo card's the one we got from the boss, and it costs 0 to use, so that's the little gold hexagon, and it gives 3 to the relationship out of 100. So you might as well use it because it's free and there's no point in holding on to it for any special occasion. So the remainder, we've still got 5 actions to use, and conveniently all the cards we have total up to 5. So it's not too important who we put these buffs on. They will be handy, definitely, so 30 extra shield for the next 2 combats is a useful thing to have, but the relationship is actually probably a bit more important at this stage. And like, there's no one here that needs any health healed, but you want to try and improve the relationship between 2 characters with 4 hearts first, because when you get them to 4 hearts you unlock a new character for the next run through. So that's what we're going to focus on with those, and then it doesn't really matter what we get with these 2, but every 25 relationship points you go up a heart. At the first heart both characters get a passive buff. At the second heart they get a special combo move, and at the third heart they get an improved version of the passive buff. That first buff can be pretty handy in some circumstances, and we'll sort of cover that when we're a little closer to it. And now we've had the bosses and the other lieutenants revealed on the planet that we're on. I'm not going to bother inspecting them because it's not too important. And now we have, it's just going to go over the whole mechanic of this. So there's 3 planets, and you've got 3 days to clear each planet, and each day has 3 movements that you can make. So each movement is going through one of these barriers. So there is a lot of planning you can do to try and figure out the best route to take to get all of the loot and take down all of the bosses. But we're not going to go into that now because that will end up taking quite a bit of time, and I feel like we've hit a good amount of gameplay for an introduction. So we're going to leave it there, and let me know what you think. If this is a game you want to see more of, then do let me know. We've definitely only scratched the surface with what the gameplay has to offer, so I probably will do some more episodes anyway, but it would be cool if it was something people wanted to see. So that's everything for this time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.